Ugh. It's time for a Blue Talisman clone war. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX and to another episode in the OG Clone Wars. Today, Blue Talisman. Miskin, he just got slapped by the classic Shib. Ta'ala hina. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about... I put my phone on D&D and it's still ringing. What is this? God damn it, bro. There goes the All right, today we're gonna be talking about Ex Nihilo Blue Talisman. My initial experience with this brand wasn't really that good or notable, I should say. High price tag fragrances for very familiar style of juices. Take Midnight Special, for example. It's amazing, but it's also incredibly expensive and surprisingly close to Oud Satin Mood. And so kind of lost interest in it, and I started to dive into other brands and other fragrances until this one caught my attention. It's called Blue Talisman. Not only did the scent profile catch my attention, but a lot of hype and including a lot of rappers and singers because they drop a video and everybody starts talking about it, and then I fell in love with Blue Talisman. And revisiting this fragrance, I started to find the other nuances in, although similar scent profiles, in even Midnight Special, which by the way is much better than Oud Satin Mood. And although expensive, you can kind of smell why. So today's fragrance, more so, is this fresh pear and musky style of scent profile. It also has this dry down of what smells like akigala wood, and that in itself is like a haze of woods and peppers. And it's that fuzzy-like texture that you'll get with a more naturalistic style of musk. Although with different musks come different animalistic natures, in this one, it's not animalistic whatsoever. Back in the day when they used real musk, and yes, believe it or not, I've had access to that, being from the East. And even to this day, unfortunately, I think you can still get it. It does have like a pissy animalic nuance. And although on its own, it sounds like it smells like shit, well, no, quite literally like piss, believe it or not, it acts as an aphrodisiac and in some cases can turn people on, quite literally. So this fragrance in itself is ginger, it's ambrette, this musky style of DNA, and pear. It reminds me in itself, vibes of like Versace Dylan Purple meets Essential Parfums Akigala Wood, or no, Essential Parfums Bois Imperial, that. Anyways, performance for this thing, it lasts all day. So you can argue that scent profile is very premium and longevity is also pretty damn good. In that case, you can argue it might be worth the price tag, sure. The box and presentation that these come in is just this basic foam. Although it is unique, it reminds me of kind of like those pads you put in your garage in case you fall. That's it. That's all I have to say about Ex Nihilo. So if you made it this far, you have an attention to detail that most people don't, and you have some patience, which nowadays most people don't, but I don't blame you if you skipped because I was just talking nonsense. So let's go ahead and get started with the most detached, as all Clone Wars start. And it's gonna start with this. It's called Azur Royal by Ahmed Al-Maghribi. And in fact, it's my scent of the day today. Now this one does absolutely capitalize on a similar style of scent profile, except remember the whole Versace Dylan Purple reference I was saying? This one kind of gets closer to something like that. And the reason I say that and the main difference is it's gonna be lacking some of those more masculine traits coming from that musky and dry woody peppers. This one being more unisex and having some more focus on some of that airy style of pear and ambers. So it's the most detached, very detached in fact, and I would not say that this is any more than like 60% of Ex Nihilo. But even Ahmed Al-Maghribi themselves would not call this a clone, nor would I ever call it a clone. It's more so of a twist. And the reason I included this is because I've already been seeing some comments. What about Azur Oud or Azur Royal? What about it? So here it is, okay? I remember once upon a time, I also presented this as a twist on it or as a clone or an attempt. And so here it is, clearing the air. It's not the best one, but it's in that vein. Ginger, musky, pear, and ambers. Simple as that. Performance for this one is very mixed. Now for me today, I wore it about, I would say, what time is it right now? It's around 3:30. I sprayed it on at about 10 a.m. I could still smell it. It's relatively diffusive, but you can go nose blind. It's not like this crazy performing nor projecting. If you want the best clone, it's absolutely not, and it does lean slightly on the feminine side. Still a good fragrance. It's a beautiful aura style of vibe, but this scent in itself is kind of like that. It's an aura. Moving on. Next one, and also more detached, is going to be from French Avenue or Fragrance World. This is called Taj 2. I'm sorry, but this is, in regards to a clone, it's pretty shit. It's not a good clone whatsoever. And the reason is because is because there's some dust on this. Is because this quite literally skips the entire opening of the Ex Nihilo, that ginger, a little bit of this effervescence, and that pear, the bright top to the fragrance, this one doesn't really capture. It does a decent job at capturing the ambroxan and maybe some of those peppers and musks, but that's pretty much it. So you get that masculine style of backbone DNA, but you don't necessarily get a lot of that freshness that you'll get from the Ex Nihilo. Also, the musks and the ambrette in itself is a little bit thicker. It's not as diffusive nor as projecting. Total longevity for this one, it never really gave me more than about 5 hours, and that's pretty much it. So in terms of how close it is, it's really not that bad. It's still miles above in terms of how close it is to the Azure Royal. So I would personally say that this is like 75–80% at best. Moving on. Now this one is from Latafa. It's called Art of Universe. This is another one where it's not necessarily the closest, but its downsides can be potentially some people's positives. This fragrance in itself, obviously reminiscent to this, except it has like this inclusion of what smells like melon, a juicier, more fruitier top of an addition of melon. It quite literally smells like Ex Nihilo with melon, without the same high quality style of musk or ambrette or that fuzzy texture that you'll get from this. Now, does it still have it? Yes, but it's pretty hazy and it's not necessarily as definitive as you'll find it to be in this one. Performance for this one, it'll last damn near the entire day, and it does project, and I think that personally, this is like the last good fragrance that Latafa has released. Since then, I haven't really been enjoying many of their fragrances, and these other brands have been leaving them in the dust in regards to a lot of their newer fragrances. This one, however, it's still pretty damn good, and in all honesty, it might even be the best twist. That inclusion of the melon, toning down some of that masculine, musky dry woods is what I personally enjoy. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you will. Remember, I don't enjoy so much that fuzzy and musky style of woods. You might. It's kind of camphorous in nature, which basically, why the f did I I'm just sounding more educated, I guess.
I know from experience, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just musky woods. That's what it basically has less of. Simple as that. Okay, moving on. Oh, percentage. This, I wouldn't give it more than 80% either. And its differences, it's kind of its pros. By the way, if you're not watching us live right now, I highly recommend that you do try and catch us on the live stream. We're here, we're talking. Lindsay, hello. AZ, he's about to do reviews. Good luck to you, bro. Truth be revealed, what do you think of Penhaligon's Opus 1870? Penhaligon fragrances are weak as f***. And then also, Muav Kad, thank you for the heart, bro. Love you too. So make sure to catch those live streams as well. You could have already watched this video, but it's different. Without the edits and stuff, you'd have just saw me throw the ship. And then there would have been nothing on the screen. But it's pretty fun, yeah? All right, moving on. Next one up on the chopping block is the brand new Offenbach Tarathi Electric. This is a pretty damn good fragrance. However, in terms of how close it is, I mean, we already prefaced with a lot of descriptors for a lot of fragrances, and by now you should already know this inside out. I mean, even in regards to like its gender, I think that's the only thing left to talk about Blue Talisman. But this fragrance gets pretty damn close. All of the nuances, everything else, except it seems to have just a little bit more of a sweetness and more citrus. It's not as rich in its scent profile and not nearly as long lasting. I will say that although it doesn't last as long as the previous fragrance, it does get closer. This one I would quantify as at around 85%. It just captures a lot more of the aspects. And the way that I quantify it is I basically look at this fragrance in all of its aspects and I note them down. So for instance, if I were to say fruity aspect, musky aspect, peppery aspect, and woody aspect, I would then compile a list of these fragrances and check off which portions it captures. In one portion, it may be higher. In one portion, it might completely miss it. And that's how I quantify it in terms of percentages, etc. So this one, definitively much closer than Art of Universe. That variance from that melon accord is just too big to ignore in its entirety. But the performance for this one is no more than about 6 hours. A great solid freshie, not as long lasting, but if you want something closer, it definitely is. Now, I'm impressed with the winner because this is a brand that I've never touched before. And in all honesty, I thought it was just hype, right? I saw 1 or 2 videos and I stopped. And I didn't even watch the video because I didn't want to be swayed. As a content creator, it's good to know what's going on in the space, but you also don't want to be consumed by other content because you end up mimicking and you lose originality. And so that's what I did for this one. I made sure that I just completely zoned it out, stuck to my notes because I take this series very seriously. And the winner of the Clone War is Gulf Orchids Legacy Royal Collection. Fortunately enough for you guys, this is cheap on Joma Shop, if I'm not mistaken, or on wherever you get it. Find it wherever it's cheapest. But this is hands down the closest inspo to Blue Talisman. All of those aspects that I told you guys I'd note down, this captures in its entirety, from the top to the dry down. Most of the times with a lot of these fragrances, when I start that breakdown, it's so far off from the beginning that I don't bother get into like a clocking phase, right? If it passes all of those checks, that's when I then spray both fragrances on each arm, and I'll literally go into time phrases where it's like, okay, 3 hours in, and I'll have intervals, right? First hour, second hour, fifth hour, eighth hour. And each hour I'll pull up that sheet and I'll be like, okay, this, it's still there. This, it's still there. This was consistently the closest at every point, except for the potency. That's it. This is the official Clone War winner. It's 90% close. The main difference is going to be because of the lack of the potency. And it's not necessarily a non-long lasting fragrance. It's just certain qualities of like this, I would imagine if they were to up it, would just cost more. And then you'd end up with a clone that's like $100 to $150. And then what's the point? I'm impressed. And honestly, this isn't my first, this is my second from this brand. And this one blew out the first one. So the official Clone War winner at 90% close with a total longevity of anywhere from 6 to a maximum of 8 hours, potentially more on clothes for me, is Gulf Orchids Legacy Royal Collection. Get it while you can. If you're watching it live, this is legitimately the closest one. And while it's still in stock, but this is it. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. And I was not expecting that. If you, like I, weren't expecting it, I know a lot of you guys were, oh, Fragrance World won. That. This is the honest to God truth, and I'm impressed. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, we're probably gonna end this video now. Thank you so much for watching another episode in the OG Clone Wars, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.